o. Ua, ike wau ia oe ia, paha, mamua.
O ia paha.
Yeah.
Ale wau ike aila I hea aka kamaʻina ko mamaka.
Oh. Maikaʻi. Mahalo ia oe no ka hele ana mai ia.
Ai, mahalo ia ʻoe I ke kona ana mai.
Aloha, everyone. I think we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm sure there'll be others joining us as we proceed. But my name is Tina Evans. I'm with West Hawaii Community Health Center, and we welcome you to Feel Good Friday. Yay! We have a special guest today, and we'll get more into our special guest and her story. But in the meantime, I would like to go around and find out who's on this Zoom session today. If you could just say your name and your affiliation with the health center. Let's do popcorn. Go ahead.
Aloha, I'm Claudia Hartz, community health educator at West Hawaii Community Health Center. Nice to see everybody.
Hi, Claudia.
Aloha, I'm Bryson Niimoto. I'm a patient screener with West Hawaii Community Health Center. And sorry, I'm driving right now. That's why I don't have any video.
Oh, be careful, Bryson.
Aloha, Dr. Healy, Director of Innovation and Transformation. So proud of my dynamic duo, Claudia and Tina, who launched Feel Good Friday about a month ago. Welcome, everyone.
Who else on the call? Okay.
I'm Sarah McCarthy, and I work for Family Support Services. I'm a family support worker.
Thank you, Sarah. Okay. We have a couple others here on the line. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Annie Nava. I'm Sarah's neighbor.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you for joining.
No, Malani invited me. Malani invited me.
Sarah, Annie.
That's Sarah.
Sarah, your bread is so delicious.
Oh, it's almost share with you because I have to keep my neighbor Ann happy. So I try to bake for her all the time.
Yes, she
Wow.
does. The best.
Only in Hawaii.
I know.
Welcome
Okay.
in.
Thank you.
Best neighbor ever.
And we have a wonderful special guest to our Kumu Malani guest speaker. She's unable to, the audio is not connected. But would you like to introduce who's from Oahu?
My sister Kavena Peterson. Kavena, can you say hello? We're not going to see you, I promise.
No pressure.
At all.
Well, welcome. We welcome everyone. We're going to go ahead and proceed to the next slide.
We are so honored today on this beautiful September 25th, 2020, on this beautiful Aloha Friday to welcome our special friend, guest speaker, inspirational community member, educator, mama, sister, auntie, the well-renowned, so multi-talented. And look at her mo'opuna on that beautiful picture. We're happy to present to you all Kumu Malani. She's here today to share with us 3 of her favorite olelo no'eau. And you know, when we sent out the email, we shared an introduction to our community, our West Hawaii community, that Kumu, that you're a healer. And you know, Kalamai, healer, we chose that word, but I know you have asked us, you know, practitioner. Let's use practitioner. So share with us share with us a little bit about that practitioner title, because when we sent out the healer word, we look at you as somebody who guides us at the Community Health Center. You've done a number of our blessings of our buildings, of our aina yesterday for the La'au Lapa'au. And so we use it in that sense. And we are so honored that you're here with us, but share with us why you're more comfortable with the practitioner title, yeah?
And Tina, I hope I didn't offend you when I
Oh, no.
said that.
No.
You see, I'm still in training. Even though I'm 60 years old, I'm still being trained by my kahu, Wendell Silva, who's from Oahu. So I was born with what is called Ike Papalua. And what that means is I can see beyond the physical world. And this is from my tutu. My tutu was in Waiohinu, and she did La'au Lapa'au and Ho'oponopono. So she was a practitioner there. She passed some of her gift to my dad, Richard Papa, and then he passed some of his knowledge to my brother, my oldest brother, who just passed away in November, and myself. And actually, my dad says all 5 of us have the gift, but I'm still being trained. And then I'm also learning from Kumu Ka'ohu, Chang Montfort, and she's teaching me La'au Lapa'au. So even though my dad taught us a little bit, I really want to learn the medicinal plants because I just feel like in today's world, I think the more we learn how to live naturally, using organic plants, especially since we're in Hawaii, learning the Hawaiian medicinal plants, there aren't side effects because everything's natural, and I think that's so important. So because I'm still in training, people call me kahu, I tell them aole. They call me kumu hula because I teach hula sometimes to students. I'm not a kumu hula. So I am a practitioner though. I do blessings, I do weddings, I do ho'oponopono and other things. And now I'm learning la'au lapa'au. So until it is such time where I do uniki or graduate, I just feel that kumu is my ka'i or a practitioner because I'm still practicing. Mahalo.
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 Mahalo, mahalo. And as you folks can see, we have more beautiful information to share about this wonderful wahine, Mana Wahine, here with us today. So we just wanted to highlight a little bit of her schooling, her journey. Attended St. Joseph's School, K through 8, then moving on to attending Kamehameha School at Kapalama, where you learn to Olelo, Hawaii, and much more about Hawaiian culture and history, and loved it. Yes? So she shares with us all today these gifts of her ike, her mana'o. She was raised by her dad, right?
My aunt,
your auntie.
Yeah.
So go ahead and share your auntie here, Kilihui.
Oh, that's my tutu.
Yeah,
That's
your
my
tutu.
dad's great grandmother.
Okay.
So I wasn't raised by her. She was already passed when we were born.
Okay.
But my tutu, she was something. She planted everything by the moon. You know how you have the moon phases, and the Prince Kuhio Hawaiian Civic Club does a wonderful job with the calendars, and they have when to fish and when to farm. Well, that's how Tutu lived. And that's how she shared with my dad. So they planted by night. And so in my front yard, we planted the plants that are there by night, according to the appropriate moon. And, you know, in those days, nobody had money. You know, in the 40s and 50s, everybody, they just shared with what they have. So when my tutu did something for somebody, she never charged. And she told my dad, you never charge because it's a gift from God. So till this day, I don't charge when I do blessings and stuff because it is a gift. And so people, you know, they were fishermen and farmers. So they would bring fish, they would bring the abundant things from their land. And so, you know, today, I love it because yesterday when I did the blessing, they gave me a big basket of lili koi from Leanne's Hale. I had ulu, I had avocados, yapea, and you know what? That's what we should be doing. Those kinds of things. And of course, they did. I didn't see it,
yes,
but they stuck an envelope in my purse. And so, you know, that's my ka'i too. But I just love when people give from their heart and whatever they can grow or from the land. Yeah.
Mahalo, Kumu, mahalo. So after her high school days, she pursued so amazing, so wonderful Bachelor of Arts degrees in Hawaiian Studies carrying that passion for learning, culture, and all things related to Hawaiian history, emphasis in Hawaiian language, then went on to Heritage College, earning a master's degree in personal leadership development. Why is that not surprising to me?
Well, let me tell you something. We were all teachers at the time, and we couldn't afford. I mean, in those days, well, not in those days, but we were all teaching already. So, what we did was there was a special program, and we flew the professors in from Washington, so they came here and they would conduct classes at the different schools. So that's how we got our MA. It took us 3 years in the evenings and every single weekend. That's how we got our master's degree. And I'll tell a little story about I had met this really nice looking rancher and construction worker, and we had dated, and then he asked me to marry him, and I said, well, I need to finish my thesis. Now, the local guys don't understand what a thesis is. Yeah, so he said, huh? What is that? And so I had to explain to him what that was, and he said, is that a yes? I said yeah.
Sounds like.
Yeah.
Sounds like.
I said, but you gotta wait because it's gonna take me a while to write it. So we did, we ended up getting married, I don't know, I think about a year later, and Annie, who's listening, she was at the table signing people in, and my sister Kavena was in my wedding party. So, yeah.
And they can vouch for you, right, Annie and Kavena? I'm sure you folks can, right? So wonderful.
Yes, we can. I have to add that in. Okay, back to you.
Moving forward, Kumu then went to really experience a beautiful and blessed journey as an educator throughout Hawaii Island. And this just highlights a few of her places and schools and communities that were able to receive the mana'o, the ike. Many of the students you've taught then are coming back to you in multiple arenas of life, right?
I've already married 4 of my previous students. They knew I did weddings, so they asked me if I could marry them. So that's a huge blessing, I tell you. So beautiful. Yeah.
Wonderful. And most recently in 2020, congratulations, right?
Yeah.
You've reached an era in your life. You reached a stage in your life that I aspire to be one day, retired. But is it true? You're more busy now.
OMG. I'm so busy. But you know what's the difference? And I loved everywhere I worked. I loved my last job at Kamehameha, being the manager in West Hawaii for education. We did a lot of awesome things, and we provided, different programs for the youth in West Hawaii. But you know what? Now I get to do what I want to do, and I want to spread and share my knowledge, so blessing homes, businesses. And one thing Kahu Wendell Silva shared with me is, in old Hawaii, if a child reached the age of 1, it was cause for a huge celebration because they never lived that long. And that's how the 1-year celebration got started. So he taught me how to do that. And now I'm working in collaboration with West Hawaii Community Health Center and Kupuna Ka'ohu Chang Monfort for Miloli'i. And we're going to provide La'au Lapa'au classes for the community. So it's exciting.
So very exciting. And that's the blessing. We had a very small gathering, of course, complying with the 10 or less gathering, social distance, all wearing masks. But Kumu Malani was just so gracious to connect with us yesterday and to bless the Aina, where if any of you have ever been to our Kealakehe clinic, there's the outdoor pavilion. And just north of the pavilion, or just neighboring it, are 3 kukui nut trees that are going to be a place for healing and therapy provided by Brandon Kang and others from our behavioral health team. But the beauty of it is the Lions Club of Kona donated 2 benches, And they told us, don't worry, nobody can steal these benches because each bench weighs 400 pounds. So that's 800 pounds of lifting. But the beauty of it is that you were able to bless the Aina where not only the therapy and healing of individuals in our community, but we also have plans, right, with Kupuna Ka'ohu to plant the keiki la'au there.
So our idea is to plant the la'au so that the people that we're going to be teaching in the community, they can learn how to plant, because they're also going to be involved in planting it, but they can learn how to plant it, what the plant looks like, and the uses of it. The Hawaiian plants are remarkable, just like every culture. Chinese, Japanese, they all have their own medicinal purposes in plants. But I think, and besides, it's on Hawaiian Homes land, and I live on Hawaiian Homes. I live like 3 minutes from the area, yeah? So I think it's just something that our people have to learn. And our people, meaning the people of Hawaii, in Kona and elsewhere.
Wonderful. Mahalo nui. So we welcome you, Kumu.
Mahalo.
We're going to jump right in. Claudia is going to lead us in this first Olelo no Iao. Claudia, go ahead.
Kumu, I'm going to try my best to pronounce this. I really want to try to read it. E lava ike aoa, malama ae, oi maui ka na au.
Good try, sweetie. Good
Takes
try.
his teachings and applies it, increases his knowledge. Will you please correct me, Kumu?
Sure. What's his name? What's that?
Claudia.
No, the boy that knows the little boy.
Bryson.
Bryson. Hiki a oike kokua ia'u.
You're on mute.
Oh, he's on mute. Bryson, hiki a
Kaine pau iki manawa.
okay, hiki a oike la helu ke la mea. Ke la olelo no ia ke ololu.
Ka.
Elabe. Can you see the screen, brother?
Oh.
Hiki a oike ike.
Oh, ai. E lawe ke a o a maalama e oi mau kana'au.
Na'au. Ai, pole, mahalo nui.
Okay,
So I like when I know there's you know, poe or people around that can olelo Hawaii, I love it. So they can. Sorry, I don't mean to put you on a spot, Bryson, but no pressure, but you're helping Kumuya. Anyway, so
I hope na uno ka hole.
oh, mahalo. So he who takes his teachings and applies it increases his knowledge. So I'm talking about, for me, I remember that my mom and dad, they had messages. There's 5 of us in our family. And one of the things they taught us was, remember where you're from and who you are. Now, my older sister, Kavena, who is on this, she and I were raised in Nanakuli. My grandpa and grandma hanai'd her, and we all lived on an acre lot by the ocean. And so they lived on the Makai side, and I was raised by my aunt, my mom's older sister, and I lived Mauka of the property. But what they taught us was things like, okay, so my mom and dad, that was one thing. Never forget who you are and where you are from, no matter who you become. And my mom and dad, they sacrificed a lot for us to get good education. So my mom went to Sacred Hearts and my dad went to Iolani. And everything was education. So my oldest brother went to Damien. My sister Kavena went to St. Francis because they all tried for Kamehameha. I feel because I was in Nanakuli, that's why I got in, you know. So myself, my sister, Ilomi, Alan, and my youngest brother, Liloa, we all went to Kamehameha. But that was important for my mom and dad, that we had really good education. The other thing was my dad, and my sister's probably going to crack up.
Kalamai Kumu.
Yep.
As an alumni,
yes.
I'm not disclosing the year, but what were your class colors, you and your siblings?
I think ours, as I remember my picture, we had pony. We were purple. I don't remember my siblings, their colors. So what were you?
Pony. Pink. The
Pink.
second class ever to have pink.
And you were in pink.
Mahalo.
Yeah. So my dad's slogan literally is, you only get out of life what you put into it. Meaning, work hard. You don't just give 100%, you give 150%. Now, I worked as a teacher, and then I got a position at UH West Hawaii, which is what it was called in those days at Malka. And this was my first supervisory position of 6 people. And so I called my dad because my dad became a construction supervisor, and he had about 200 men under him. And he also was in the Seabees on the weekend, the Navy Seabees, and he became a senior officer, so he had a couple of hundred men under him as well. So I called my dad from here and I said, Dad, you gotta help me. I just got a supervisor job. I don't know what to do. You know, can you give me some words of wisdom? And he said, oh, that's easy. You take care of your people will take care of you. Mm. And I said, oh, okay, Dad. So how? He goes, oh, you got to figure that out.
He wasn't going to give you all of it, right?
No. He said, and I said, oh, thanks, Dad. So as I prayed about it and I thought about it, what I would do is I had 6 people I had to take care of. Every month, I made sure each of them got a thank you card from me for doing something. Like you catch them being good, which is what us in DOE, West Hawaii learned. The other thing was once a month, I'd either buy them lunch. We had ice cream socials or something so that we could be cohesive. So I would listen to other concerns. Every week, I'd have a time for each one of them and I'd listen to them. And when I told my dad what I was doing, he said, good, my ka'i. He said, yep, that's exactly what you got to do.
Beautiful, beautiful. Mahalo nui for sharing that. So Kumu, protocol with Feel Good Friday is after you share, we open it up to our new friends or our old friends, our frequent flyers, Sarah, both Sarahs, we have 2 Sarahs, to share, right? And so I always share the time. We're at 12:22. We're making great time. We have 2 more Olelo No'iau to share, but let's open it up. 1 or 2 of you that would like to share your reflection or listening to Kumu's message. How did that connect with you? Anyone want to share?
I can share.
Mahalo, Bryson, go ahead.
I just enjoyed when you first started out, Kumu, when you are talking about even though regardless of your age, is that you're continuing to learn and that you're a student of life and you continue to learn. Why about it?
Oh, mahalo nui.
Mahalo nui.
Pololei ke la, pololei.
Mahalo nui, Bryson. Anyone else? We have a couple new friends. Aloha Millie, aloha Sarah Stengler. We want to welcome. Anyone want to share?
I'd like to share if no one else is ready.
Yes, please, Tina, please.
I just want to give honor to Kumu Malani, and I just appreciate you sharing about your family, you know, how close-knit, you know, and how you had the connection with the elders, you know, and how they carried on tradition and transfusing the honor of, you know, of what is important for your people. You know, a lot of us don't have that. You know, I didn't grow up in a family like that. So a lot of the things that I've learned from others, you know, not necessarily family members. You know, I didn't have a close relationship with my mother or grandmother or aunties or any of the men in my family. But now, you know, I'm learning more about, I'm a radar for knowledge and wisdom. So the information that you've shared, although we are not related by blood, you know, but by the wisdom that you've imparted, you know, I take it to heart as if it was a family that's sharing this information. He who takes his teaching and applies it increases his knowledge. That means teachings and wisdom from wherever it is that you come in contact with it. And we just have to have that intuition, you know, inside of our gut, in our heart, that, you know, how you hear something or you come in contact with something and you know it's important and you know it's something it is to be valued. So I just want to thank you for taking your time today to impart this wisdom. And I just want you to know it's being received. So I just want to thank you.
Absolutely.
So I'd like to comment on that really briefly.
This is your show.
I don't know how to act, actually. So, you know, Tina, I firmly believe, that I've learned from my mom and dad and Kahu and Kupuna that Keakua puts people in our lives. And many times those people will impart wisdom to us, and we don't even realize it until we're not in their presence anymore. And when we reflect back on it, then we say, oh my goodness, this is what they said. And so he knows, yeah, he knows what he's doing. So thank you for that, Tina. But just realize that because Hiakua, the Lord knows your heart and knows your knows what happened as you were growing up, he will put people in your, and I'm sure you've learned from many others as well, he will put people in your path so you can be filled with with the well of knowledge, the wealth of knowledge. Yeah. Mahalo.
Yes,
Thank you so much for sharing, Tina.
thank you.
One thing I'd like to add to this before we move to the next slide is, I've been saying this lately, you know, when the student is ready, the teacher appears.
That's true.
So Tina was very inspired when we were discussing the creation of Feel Good Friday. She said, "This is a dream come true for me. I get to work and do this. Wow."
I can do this all day, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, and still be revitalized. This is the heart's journey. This is the heart's work. You know, when we can come together, regardless of our cultures, of our differences, our religious beliefs, regardless of anything that separates us, we can come together and share this well of knowledge and this well of love and feel the impact. You know, this is a dream come true. I am so grateful. I'm so grateful for this. So I just thank you.
Thank you, Tina. Claudia, let's go ahead and move to the second slide. So here we have the second Olelo no Iao, Evehe Ika Umauma Akia.
Akia.
E Akia. Kalamai, I cannot see the E. It's covered by a Apple ID setting. E Akia. Literally meaning open out the chest so that it may be spacious. Be generous and kind to all. Kumu, can you please share?
Sure. So growing up, my parents also taught us that no matter who it was, what race, what color, you see them needing help, you help. That period, you know. So when I was living in Honolulu and I taught there, when you heard that somebody needed something, you just helped. And I'm gonna tell you how overwhelmed I was with this Olelo no Ea. So in 2003, my husband had fought a long battle with cancer. And in 2003, he went home to be with the Lord. And I was teaching at Ponawaina Middle School at the time, and my daughter was 6 years old when this happened. And so it was amazing how the community rallied around us. So my husband passed away on September 14th, 2003, so 17 years ago at 11:26 p.m. And 7 o'clock the next morning, there's a knock at my door. Now I'm still sleeping, you know, still in my nightgown and whatnot. So I went downstairs and it was my neighbors, a husband and wife, and they made their infamous lemon pie. And they had tears in their eyes and they're like, Malani, we're so sorry that Richard passed. And I said, mahalo, mahalo. Well, you know what? And my sister flew up with my mother to help with my daughter. For 2.5 months, people came morning, noon, and night. Wow. They brought food, they brought whatever they had, you know. And one day I came home and I was in the house. My mom and dad had flown over and they lived with us for a month just to help us. And I had all these clanging of poles. Like, what's going on? So I went out, I opened the door, and there were two of my husband's friends. He was a heavy equipment operator. And they had set up this 20 by 20 tent. And I said, was there a party that I don't know about, you know? And they said, no, Malani, people are going to, this is when he first passed, the first week. They said, Malani, you know, so many people loved your husband. He had a heart of gold. He said, people are going to come. But in my mind, I couldn't fathom. I just couldn't. They had tables, they had chairs, and you know the old-fashioned light bulbs, you wrap it around the pole? So cute. They did all of that, you know? And so I'm thinking to myself, you know, I knew my husband was golden. He was a beautiful man. And I thought, you know, okay. Well, I tell you what, after that couple brought the lemon pie, the staff from Konawaina Elementary, where my daughter went to school, her teacher came, and the staff from Konawaina Elementary with this huge fish box full of water and juice. And they said, people are going to come. So I couldn't understand what they meant. They're like, people are going to come. And so, you know, I'm sad and I'm like, okay, mahalo. Well, I tell you what, the staff and teachers of Konawaina Middle School, they all signed up without me knowing.
Oh, wow.
They brought me dinner every night. They brought Anela and I dinner every night for 2 months straight. People, I mean, and I think my favorite makana or gift that somebody brought was, she came with these 2 big packages, brown bag packages. And I said, "Wow, Tita, what do you have?" And she said, "Girl, I know you're running out of this." And I said, "What?" She brought paper plates, napkins, utensils, all of that. And you know what? I was running out of it because every night there were at least 30 people at my house for dinner. And at first I thought, oh, where's the food going to come from? Well, you know what? There was so much food. And I remembered when my mom and my sister were up there and they told me, they were talking to each other saying, where are we going to put all the food? Well, you know, every local family has a refrigerator in the house and outside, yeah? So we had a refrigerator in the garage, and the food that people brought, they would always be left over for the next day. And people just didn't stop coming. And I was so thankful. But the other thing, it's kind of funny. When my husband passed away, that's the only night I wasn't with him at the hospital. And I called my brother-in-law and I asked him to just be with him because I was on fumes. You know, I was tired, trying to take care of my daughter, and I had stopped working. So I went up, you know, my brother-in-law called me. He said, "You got to come." But he didn't tell me what had happened. So we get up, as we turned up Haukapila Road, the Kona Hospital right now, the one that's there, my husband comes to my window, yeah? So I told you I have the gift of Ikipapalua, which is second sight. And he's at my window and I said, "What are you doing?" And he said, "Mom, I have to go." And we were in charge of the youth group at our church at the time. And so the only thing I could say was, "Is God calling you?" And he said, "Yeah." I said, "Okay, then you go." But I'm in shock, right? So we get up to the hospital, the door's open, my brother-in-law's there, the doctor's there, and they just say, "He's gone." So my mom breaks down, my daughter starts crying, but I'm thinking, wait, I'm the wife? That should be me, you know? But I just stood there and I held it in and we walked into the room and my husband looked like he was sleeping, but what kept me going, because there were family already starting to arrive, and I looked up in the corner of the room and there he was. He was there and his mom and dad were on either side of him and he was smiling. And I knew that he was my ka'i, he was good. And so that's what kept me going through till the wee hours of the morning. But you see, I'm a teacher and I'm a coordinator. So when I looked at the people who were there, I just planned half of his funeral because they couldn't tell me no. So I said, "Gary, can you kalua the pig?" He's like, "Yes, cousin." "Charlene, can you run the kitchen?" "Yes." So I planned half of it right there.
Yeah.
And everybody said yes, and they all came through. And talk about this Olelo no Eao is just, we lived it. We were living it. Be generous and kind to all. It was just a beautiful display of community action. And yeah, it was really awesome. So mahalo.
Mahalo, Kumu, for sharing that special memory with all of us. We'd like to open it up at this time to 2 of our friends on this call today. Be generous and kind to all. Is there any reflection or connection, any memory that you'd like to share? We're making great time. We're at 12:35 and we have one more Olelo no Ia to share. But please feel free. Anyone would like to share?
I'm just going to share to say that the two reasons why I'm not sharing. Or there's a couple reasons. One, I was late again, and I'm so sorry for the disrespect of that. Two, I am so touched and moved that I am, my heart is open and exploding. And I know we're being recorded. I don't want to be crying on screen later. So I just want to say thank you. And I'm taking this all in, and I am feeling so grateful and humbled, and really feeling the generosity and kindness that you're describing in the slide, as well as the teaching and the learning. So mahalo, mahalo no iloa. Yes.
Mahalo, Sarah. And for those of us that are on the call today, Sarah joined us for the first time last week. That was her first Feel Good Friday. You finally found your people, Sarah.
Yes.
So we don't mind your lateness. We'd rather have you late than never arriving. So we're always welcoming you. But Kumu, did you want to mention something to Sarah or respond to her?
No, it's taken about 17 years. It's taken me 17 years to talk about this and not cry. And so I'm pretty amazed that I'm not crying, but I also don't have waterproof mascara on right now. So it's, time, people would tell me time's going to heal. And I never like people telling me that. And, now when I have friends who lose loved ones, my advice to them is you take this in your own time. Don't listen to what people tell you. You just do it in your own time. You cry when you gotta cry. Like what happened when my husband died was I was about 80 pounds bigger. I was a big woman. And I think he was happy because I could help him with the pigs and, help build this and build that. I'm kidding. So when he passed away, I had my back would go out every month. And so I had to wear these inserts. And when he died, my husband died, I said, forget it. I'm not wearing anything. So as a result, 2 weeks later, my back went out. I couldn't move. I couldn't do anything. And my sister-in-law had flown in from Maine, and her 3 daughters came over. And one daughter in particular, she pretty much bathed me, fed me, and took care of me. And I had a very good friend who she and her husband brought their truck because they heard what happened. And I had a small sedan, 4-door sedan. And they said, Malani, why don't you just use our truck for as long as you need? And so that was the second day. By the third day, I grew up in Nanakuli. We're strong women, and I said, I am not having anybody bathe me or feed me. So I told myself, get a grip. By tomorrow, you're going to get up as sore as it is, and you're going to take a shower, and you're going to walk. And I did. I prayed at night, and we had these 2 good friends. One was a chiropractor, and one was a qigong master. And they would work on my husband, in during his last days, especially. Never took any money. And so they came when they heard about my husband. They heard about my plight. They came and they worked on me. And I'm like, wait, I cannot move. I cannot get my purse, They're like, we're not asking for that. Just get well. So what happened was I got well, and I love oldies. I love my Hawaiian music, but I love all genres of music. And I remembered grabbing all these CDs, and I climbed up into the truck, and I would drive to Ka'u, playing all these songs and just crying and crying, because he was my soulmate, And that's another thing I did. And I think with that crying, and it healed me. It healed my daughter and I. And my daughter tells me that, she said, Mommy, if Daddy were alive, I would have entered all the rodeos. I would have become a tom girl, And because what happened was she ended up entering pageants. And I'm not a pageant mom, but I had to learn to become one. And she won the Young Miss Kona Coffee. So things started getting brighter for us. And she got into HPA, and I ended up teaching there so she could go free. All these things, all these blessings started happening for us. And my daughter said, Mom, if Dad were still alive, we wouldn't have done all these things because we would be in, you know, in Kona because daddy was there and we had the ranch and all of that. So I knew that he was our guardian angel, you know, and the house that we live in, a friend of mine told me, you know, we just moved into Hawaiian Homes and there's this house for sale. I had no idea how to buy a house, you know. Anyway, so she said, come, let's go take a look at it. So we came. Now, the lady who was showing the house opens the front door. My husband's standing on the steps.
Wow.
And he's making all these signs and talking to me and all excited. And he's going like this. So I'm in my mind, I'm like, don't talk to me. The lady's gonna think I'm mentally retarded. I'm off because I'm looking at you. I mean, looking at my husband, but I said, just hum out, be quiet. So she takes me around the house, upstairs, downstairs, and we go outside. And there were my favorite flowers, the fern. So I like to make lei, you know. My favorite flowers, the fern I would need, big yard, so all the children could come play with my daughter. And I thought, this is it. So when we were done, I called my parents. I said, so how do you buy a house? So the lady told me to go get, you know, to try and get pre-approved. And there were 2 families ahead of me. And I just prayed. And that lady told me, Malani, I don't know why, but I really want you to get this house. And I thought, there's my husband. He got the connection. There he is, you know. And 3 weeks later, she called me back and she said, the 2 families fell through. It didn't happen. So it's yours if you want it.
You're up next.
You're up.
Right?
And
You
I
were
got
third.
it. And so my husband, he's our guardian angel till today. And he's always there for us. So
Mahalo nui for sharing that. Mahalo, mahalo. And for those of you who joined us a few minutes late, the opening picture was Kumu Malani and her mo'opuna, Anella's daughter. And your mo'opuna is how old now?
Almost 3.
Almost 3, almost driving your car.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna move. Anybody else would like to share before we move on to the final Olelo no Iao? Just scrolling through the attendant list here to see. Hearing none, we're gonna go ahead, Claudia, move us into the final Olelo no Iao. Here we go. Oh, I'm gonna ask Bryson. Bryson, please take us home with this last Olelo no Iao.
Ai, e olu I ka mea loa'a.
Be content with what one has. I also chose this. You see, when we were growing up, we didn't have much. We had very humble beginnings, and everybody knew that if you don't have what you want, you just don't have. We never pouted. We never cried. We never threw a tantrum or whatever it was. That's just how it was. And I wanted to bring it up to today with what's going on with COVID-19. A lot of families are struggling. A lot of people are having a difficult time. So right here in our little neighborhood, all my neighbors behind, across the street, right next to us, we share whatever we have. Yesterday, I was given all those beautiful, you know, fruits and vegetables. And so I will be sharing with my neighbors. Sometimes a friend of mine whose neighbor is a fisherman, he'll call me and he'll say, hey, I got some ahi or a kule or whatever, you know, I'm gonna drop it off or come over and get it. I share with my neighbors. We gotta go back to living like how it was in the olden days, you know. We don't have to keep up with the Joneses. We don't have to keep up with anybody. We just gotta live, treat people, be kind, yeah? Be kind to people, help people, and just be content with what we got. And if you don't have it, it's okay. You know, it's fine. What else did I want to say about this? We need to learn how to be satisfied and not stress about it. I wanted to do the ha ritual to open up. Maybe we can end with it.
Yes.
We'll end with the ha ritual.
Okay.
So I think it's just really important if we can live by all of these Olelo no Eao, and these 3 are my favorite. My kahu, he had a really bad bout with cancer, and he's written books, and I don't have them with me. I really wanted to share them with you because I'm hoping he can be one of the guest speakers in the future. But he's 74, I believe now, and when I talked to him about it, he said, "Oh, that's how we grew up. Whatever we had is what we had." And even in his neighborhood, they all would share. So I think if we can focus on these things, focus on kindness, helping each other instead of, oh, I got this and they don't have it, so, I have more power. Ole. That's not what aloha is about. Spread more aloha. Try to live aloha. Like right now, my neighbor behind me, they would always feel bad because there's a flag lot next to me, and he lives in the back. And he and his wife would often tell me, we feel so bad because when it rains, the lepo or the dirt would fall into my yard, and it didn't bother me at all. I said, that's okay. And I had a fence up, a vinyl fence. Well, this man came to me one day and he said, you know what, Tita, I'm going to build a wall. I work for a concrete company and whatever. I said, well, tell me how much it is. And he said, we just have it. So he already made the form, and he's going to build a wall because he thinks it's a pono thing to do. How many people do that today? How many people live by that? You do something because it's the right thing to do. That's another thing, to live pono. You do things in the right way. You do something bad to somebody, you apologize. You ask for forgiveness. And in return, you forgive others. Growing up, I'm just going to mention briefly, I had a horrible childhood, and my sister can talk, she'll agree with you. My aunt had miscarried a daughter, and I had an older brother and sister, and then myself. And what I learned after going to several psychiatrists and psychologists, what I learned was she took her grief out on me. So, she would abuse me in different ways. And I had to live with that from when I was little until I was 13 years old. And, it was very difficult for me. But when I got into Kamehameha, I had moved back with my parents. And all of that abuse really, you can do one of two things. You can take it and become a victim all your life, which is what I was until I got into college. Or you can take it, learn from it, and turn it around, which is what I ended up doing because I was tired of being the victim. I was tired of, just saying, oh, well, I can't do this because. So I turned it around, and what it did for me was when I was at Honau Now School, when my students would walk into my room on the first day, as I looked into their eyes, this is another gift that Akua gave me. I knew who was being abused at home. All I had to do was look in their eyes. So my husband bought me a junior size refrigerator, and we had it filled with water and snacks. And the kids would come during recess and they would tell me awful things. And my one thing to them was, you got to understand that I'm going to have to tell the counselor if you're getting hurt at home so that you can get help and your ohana can get help. But they shared some pretty ghastly things with me, but I could understand because I went through it. So most recently, when I was in fact, my last year at HPA, we would have chapel every 6 weeks. And the last chapel, they had asked me if I could speak. And so I came up with a PowerPoint. And nobody knew what I went through growing up. Nobody knew it affected me. Because that's not something you readily share with anybody, right? So I came up with a PowerPoint, and I incorporated using the Olelo no Eau and Hawaiian values. And I spoke about my life, but toward the middle, I turned it around and I said, so this is what you do. This is what I did. And I talked about how I became who I am today. And I talked about how you can flourish after going through all those things. And so today I'm also an inspirational speaker. And I've spoken to school students. My sister Kavena's daughter is a teacher at Waianae High School. I've spoken to her classes. I've spoken to teachers, a number of people. And I love doing it because every time I do this talk, people will come up to me later and they'll tell me, that's what I went to. I was also abused. So I get to talk with them. I get to pray with them if they need prayer. And I just think it's a way to help people heal. And I really enjoy it. Mahalo.
Mahalo nui kumu. And one thing I'm going to share with our new friends is, and some, friends that we've had for some time now, when you go talk to the students, I hear somebody told me that you also make a something special for the students. Can you please share with?
Sure. So the last one I did was with Brandon and Brandon's students. So I always feel like, after I tell them the story, I want to make them really feel good before they leave. So I started baking this cake that a friend of mine shared with me. It's this chocolate cake. And instead of water, you put coconut milk. And at the very end, you drop in some chocolate candies. So it's gooey when you cut into it. So my students at HPA, especially my football boys, they would tell me, Kumu, if we get an A on the Hawaiian language, because I talk Hawaiian language, if you get an A on the Hawaiian language test, you can make your cake. And I tell them, can I make a deal with you? Every single one of you got to get an A. If every one of you gets an A, Kumu will make cake. And they would.
Awesome. I
knew it was only for the cake. I just knew that. So when I went to speak to Brandon's boys, I made a cake and I had to laugh because they were scraping the tin with the crumbs. And I said, honey, he goes, Kumu, this thing is so on. He said, I love it. So they're scraping the thing. And so that's what I do, just because I want the kids to know how much I love them and how much I got out of, it was a hard life growing up. I had my sister Kavena there for me as well. She was always there for me. But today, Keakua or God will always put somebody in your life when you need them. Like we were talking about it earlier, Tina. Somebody always comes, whether you know it or not. And I just feel if I can help one person in that room, I've helped a lot of people. So, mahalo. Oh, and the name of the name of my talk is Kulia Ikanu'u, which is another Olelo No'eau, and it means strive to reach the summit. And when you're going through all of this stuff, you got to keep on striving, and you have to have a focus on getting out of this whole thing. And that's why I chose that as the name of my talk. Kulia Ikanu'u.
Mahalo nui kumu. Mahalo. Friends, we have 1 minute, maybe 2 minutes if somebody would like to comment or share, because Kumu's going to close out our session today with a protocol, a breathing exercise. So we welcome somebody to make comment.
Can I say one quick comment? Maybe we can have Kumu come back and give her talk. If you would be willing, we could just dedicate the whole session for your talk.
I'll make the cake, but you got to come there to get the cake.
Oh, you can't make no Zoom cake. We could just eat it during the Zoom session.
Zoom cake. Beautiful. Thank you, Tina. Thank you, Tina. Claudia, were you going to make a comment? I thought I saw you unmute.
Oh, no, I was shaking my head for cake. Yes.
Yes, I'm salivating here too, and I see other friends smiling. Yes, Sarah's in agreement. Yeah, look at that big bright smile. Look.
Yeah, aloha cake. Yes.
Wonderful. Kumu, thank you so much for sharing your mana'o, your ike with us. What a special opportunity for us to gather. We're going to be sharing this Zoom link out with other friends who were unable to make it today. Currently, we have a registration list of 70 individuals throughout the state and throughout the island, as well as far as California, right, Tina? So we will share this with those who were unable to make it here today, but if you wouldn't mind, please close us out with this beautiful ceremony, the Ha ritual,
Sure.
and share a little bit about it before we begin.
So my kahu, Wendell Silva, taught this to me, and this is how we started the blessing yesterday at for the Aina. So I'm gonna ask you folks, we're gonna do, so Ha is breath or to breathe. And you can do this any time of the day. My sister Kavena begins her mornings with them. I started off too with the Ha. And during the day, if I'm not feeling, if something happens and I'm not feeling too great, I do the Ha ritual. So it's H-A, kahaka over the A, Ha, and then ritual. So the first thing we're gonna do is, we're gonna inhale, and I'm gonna say Hanu. Hanu is to breathe. You're gonna inhale, and then what I want you to do, you're just gonna clear your lungs. You're gonna get rid of the residual air that's already in there. That's it. You're gonna take a deep breath. You're gonna inhale. Then when I say exhale, you just get rid of as much as you can out of your lungs, and then I'll guide you through the rest. Okay? Hanu. Exhale. As we continue doing this ritual, as you breathe out, as you exhale, I want you to say Ha. Okay? As you breathe it out. Now, the second time, you're going to inhale and hold your breath as long as you can. I want you to think of the troubling things that are in your mind right now. Like, I don't know, whatever it is. Maybe you're working on a report, you're having a hard time writing, or something personal. But think of that right now. And as you exhale, I want you to release all of that right now. Okay, so Hanu. And you're going to use Ha to exhale and Ha. Nakai. The next thing we're going to do after we Hanu, we're going to take a deep breath. You're going to focus on your heart. What is troubling you? What is heavy on your heart right now? Personal, work-related, whatever it is. So when you exhale and you say the Ha, release that right now. Okay? So Hanu. Exhale. Ha. I wish you folks could put it on. Yeah, could put that on. I'm just kidding. You don't have to. What do you call that?
If you folks want to unmute yourself for this final Ha, this is our final one.
This is the final one.
Yeah, go ahead and unmute yourself. We can all share Ha.
And in between all of these, you should be just relaxing more and more, relaxing. So for this final one, I want you to go to a place that brings you great joy and great happiness. A place, it could be in the mountains, it can be in the ocean, it can be in your living room, your bedroom, a place of refuge, if you will. Some place that you really feel warm and fuzzy inside and you just love that place. So if you can do that right now, I'm going to give you about a minute to think of this place right now. So when we take the inhalation, I want you to make that positive connection to that place. And when you exhale, I've been talking about Keakua this whole time because I'm Christian and I believe in God. Whomever you believe in, with whatever higher power you believe in, I want you to give it to that being as we exhale. Okay? Good. Hanu? Exhale. Ah.
Mahalo nui Kumu for sharing the Ha protocol with us. To the final closeout, Kumu just asked me, can I do a pule prayer? Absolutely, we welcome that. So hang with us for one more minute. It's now 1 o'clock, so we may get 1 minute over, but yes, mahalo nui. Claudia, go ahead and advance the next slide. We won't say much about it because others can see, but Kumu, please lead us in pule.
Pule kako. Oh, Kalamai, in my prayer, I'm just going to mahalo everybody for being here. And I'm going to ask that Hiakua surround you folks with white light and send you for the rest of the day and weekend. I hope you folks have a lovely weekend with your ohana and friends. And I'm just going to ask for blessings upon all of us. Pule kako. Hiakua manaloa, mahalo nui a oi no ki ia hala vai. Mahalo no na poe I hele mai ai I ki ia aha, e ho mai ka ia ma ko pakahia pau, me ko loko mai ka I, ko aloha, ko malama lama. Mahalo no na haku o ke ia halawai pū. E ho mai ka I nā ohana o ke ia mau poe. E malama ia ma ko pakahia pau pū. Ke pule ne mako I loko kaino Yesu Christo. Amene.
Amen. Mahalo nui Kumu Malani. Good Friday session. Claudia, one final thought. Share with us what's happening next week.
Okay, so next week our session will be October 2nd, I believe. Is it Milton?
Yes.
I believe
Yes, Milton.
Dental program manager and working out of the Kealakehe Clinic. He'll be with us. So come on back, friends. Share this link with your friends and network, and we hope to see you all soon.
And I like to say thank you and mahalo to Millie for attending today. Millie from Arizona.
Oh, aloha.
I know we've had California in the house, but today we also have Arizona.
Awesome.
Thank you. My dog is barking like crazy. That's why I can't unmute.
Welcome, Lily. We'll see you next Friday. And Sarah McCarthy, one day we'll try the bread.
Yes.
Have a wonderful weekend, everyone.
Thank you, Tina.
Mahalo, mahalo, Bryson.
Anna.
Aloha.
Aloha.
Ahui ho.
Hui ho.